friends, welcome back to another video here on our YouTube channel. If you are watching this video, that means that you have received your Watercolor Club kit and you are interested in learning how to do some of the activities that are in the Watercolor Club kit packet. This packet contains 8 different activities. In the description box below, you will find 8 different timestamps. You can click the timestamp to whichever activity you are most interested in doing today with us. You should have all the supplies that you need to do each of these 8 activities in your Bright Futures kit bag. In this kit bag, you will find activities for our Clay Club and our Watercolor Club kit. This video is specifically just for Watercolor Club. You will need to get out your watercolor paint pad, your watercolors. You may have this watercolor, you may have this watercolor with glitter, and then there is also a larger watercolor that we provided. We just provided you with whatever we found in the stores, and there wasn't enough of this one. So you may have a bigger version of this one in your bag. You will also find a box of crayons, 10 cardstock bookmarks. So this is special paper that we cut into strips. You will have 10 cardstock bookmarks, a bottle of liquid glue, a bag with a cotton string in it, and a bag of salt. This one can be a little messy, so make sure that you keep the bag nice and sealed if you are not using the salt for the painting activity. Those are all of the supplies that you will need for Watercolor Club kit. If you find other materials in your bag, you may use them with the watercolor supplies to create your own fun activities. But for today's video and for these activities here, I'm going to show you just how to use these supplies for the 8 different activities. We are going to head over to our arts and crafts tables, friends. Click the timestamp in the description box for the activity that you would like to do. All right, friends, let's head on over to our arts and crafts table.
Hello, friends. Welcome to our first activity. This is called the spider web. You will need your watercolor paint pad, your watercolors, a pencil if you have one, or your crayon box. Taking a writing utensil, you are going to create the lines on your page that will be your spider web. I started with diagonal lines and then I added these swoopy lines to form the layers of the web. I even drew a spider. What will you add to your spider web? Next, you will need your crayons. You're going to take out any crayon. I chose a black crayon because I wanted to make the spider web darker. And you are going to go over your first drawing with the crayon. This will help it when you add the watercolor. When you paint with watercolor, you will want to make sure you have some clean water and something to dry your paintbrush on. I'm taking turns dipping my paintbrush into the water and the individual colors. When I want to add a new color to my picture, I want to make sure that I rinse off my paintbrush with the water. I pat my paintbrush dry occasionally so that way the colors do not mix. We hope you enjoyed doing this spiderweb watercolor activity with us. In this second activity, we are going to paint warm or cool hands. You will start by getting a writing utensil. I used a pencil to trace the outline of my hand. After tracing your hand, you are going to want to take one of your crayons and go back over the outline that you created. This will help the colors of your paint stay separate during our activity. Using the color wheel found in our packet, you will need to make a choice. Do you want to use cool colors or warm colors inside your hands? I chose to use cool colors when I was painting my hand. What cool colors did I choose, friends? After I finished painting my hand, I looked again at my color wheel to identify the warm colors I would add to my background. I painted all around my hand, and the crayon helped keep the colors from mixing. What colors did I use in the background of my painting, friends? This third activity is the Fall White Crayon Resist Art. I'm going to pull out my white crayon because I am going to draw some leaves. This activity asks you to go outside with leaves, but I didn't have any leaves because it is almost winter and there is snow on the ground. So instead, what I am doing is I am using the white crayon to draw and create my own leaf designs all over the page. It's really hard to see what I'm drawing, but when we add the watercolor paints over the white crayon, it will make the painting come alive. As you get ready to do the watercolor portion of this activity, you want to make sure that you have a clean glass of water and maybe some paper towel or a cloth or a scrap of paper to use to dry your brush with. I'm going to use many different colors in my paintings, and I just want to make sure that in between the colors that I paint, I rinse off my brush and I dry my brush. That helps the colors in my pan keep their original color. Hello friends, and welcome to our fourth activity, String and Colors Resist Art. For this activity, you will get out your watercolor paint pad, a cup or bowl of water, clean water, something to dry your brush on, and the string that we provided you in the plastic bag. In this activity, what you'll do is you will take the string and create a string pattern or design by just laying the string on your watercolor paper. When you have a design that you like, you will then take your paint pad and color in the different sections of your string. activity, we will create abstract scribble drawings. This activity reminded me a lot of the String and Colors Resist art piece that we did in Activity 4. So what you'll do in this activity is take any color crayon. I used a darker color crayon because I wanted to make sure that I could really see it, because we are going to paint over our scribbles. And you friends will get to scribble all over your watercolor paint pad. So you're going to scribble in any way that you would like. You could get really messy on this page, and you might even try to make a couple of different scribble drawings to do this activity with. So this is my scribble that I came up with. And what we will do next is we will get our watercolor paint pad ready, and we will get some water in a cup or a bowl, something again to dry our brush on, and we are going to use different colors to color in the scribbles that we left on our page. You could color the entire page, you might only color a couple scribbles. How you choose to do this is entirely up to you. This sixth activity is really fun. It is called the raised salt painting. A suggestion that I have for any friends who might be doing this activity is to make sure that they have their watercolors, their bowl of water, and then their paint pad in a place that is easy to clean up, because we are going to be adding salt to this activity. So what you see me doing right here is I am starting with our liquid glue bottle, and I am creating a design. So whatever design I put on the paper, we are going to use to create that design some glue. And then what we will do afterwards is we are going to carefully sprinkle the salt onto the glue. There might be some extra salt on the page, and that's okay. We will, at the very end of the activity, gently shake it off. after you place your salt all over the glue that you put down on your page, you are going to move on to the watercolor part. So what I did was I used my watercolors and my paintbrush to add color to different sections of the glue. When I was going to add more color, I made sure to very carefully rinse my brush and dry it off each time because I didn't want any of the salt sticking to my brush getting into the watercolor paint pad. So make sure during this activity you wash your brush quite a few times to keep the salt out of your watercolor paint pad. Hello friends! In our 7th activity, you will make watercolor bookmarks. In your Orange Bright Features bag, you will find 10 cardstock bookmarks clipped together either with a paper clip or one of these pins that we have. What you'll want to do for this activity is take out the number of bookmarks that you would like to paint, and then also take out your watercolor supplies, get some clean water, and something to dry your brush off. A helpful tip that I have is to place some sort of cloth or scrap paper or paper towel underneath your watercolor bookmarks, because in this activity we are going to be using extra water and extra paint. So the first thing that you will do once you're all set up is you will take clean water and you will wipe it all over your bookmarks. We are not yet adding paint or color to our bookmarks, but what we want to do is make sure that the bookmark is damp wet. We don't need it to be soaked because then it would be too wet, but we want to make sure there is a good amount of water on there. After we do that, we will move on to the watercolor portion of this activity. Once your bookmark is damp with clean water, what we're going to do is we are going to look at our paint pad and think of the couple of different colors we might want to use to add to our bookmark. So the directions on step 3 tell us to dilute the water down by adding 2 or 3 colors with extra water into the lid of our watercolor paint pan. Once we do that, we are going to take those colors, keep adding them until we get what we want, and then what we will do is we will swirl them together and drip them onto our damp watercolor bookmark. As I was reading the packet and following the directions, I realized that I was having some challenges with this activity, friends. My colors weren't swirling in the way that they said they would, and I think maybe that was because I hadn't added enough paint and enough water to the lid of my paint pan. So I improvised, which just means I made up my own step, and I used my paintbrush to swirl the colors together. In my second bookmark, I thought that I would try something different to see if I could follow the steps of the packet. So what I did was I was going to make a swirling rainbow bookmark. So I took the water and I added it right to each of the colors of the paint pan, with the goal of dripping the colors from the paint pan onto the bookmark. Let's see how it turns out. Hello friends, welcome to our 8th and final activity here in this Watercolor Club kit video. This is called the colorful mandala. A mandala, friends, comes from Sanskrit and it means circle. Artists have been making mandalas for thousands of years. So in this activity, what we are going to do is we are going to take any color crayon. I again used a darker color because I wanted it to really pop on the page after I added my watercolor paint. And we are going to trace the lines of this mandala. Now, if you want to create your own mandala, you can find items in your home that might have circles on a side, trace them, and make different patterns on a page. So in this activity, I'm just going to show you how we use the mandala we provided in your Bright Features bag. I am really taking my time and going slow. I want to make sure that my lines are really thick so that they show up, and it helps keep the paint separate. I also wanted to mention that I'm going to include in the description box a link to the Kids Britannica website where you can read an article a little bit more that tells you about mandalas and the cultural practice behind that, because it's really important to educate ourselves if we are going to partake in maybe an art project or anything in a learning situation from another culture. It is our responsibility to learn more about that culture, to educate ourselves on that practice, and make sure that is something that is okay for us to do, and that we are doing it in a respectful and honoring way. An important reminder for this activity is that if you want to have many different colors in your mandala, you want to make sure you're taking extra time to clean off your brush in between each color that you use. So you can see I am dipping my brush into a color, adding that paint to the mandala, then I am returning my brush to the water, rinsing it off, and drying it on my paper towel. You can use a scrap piece of paper, an old cloth, a rag, anything you might have to dry your brush off. And I am doing this in between each color that I add. I'm also taking my time. You can see in this video that it's going super quick, and we sped that up so that you could see the whole process. But when I did this activity, this was one of those activities that took me the most time because I was being very careful and I was practicing my fine motor skills by really making sure that I am slowly moving my hand just so I paint inside that box. If you mix colors or want to add your own spin to this activity, that is encouraged. But if you want to have a different color or make your mandala really detailed, you just want to make sure you're taking extra time.